Alright, so it's official. QS165 version 2, V2, is the original OEM motor, brushless motor, Hall sensor in the E-Ride Pro 2.0. I believe the not the SS but the S, it's going to be the same exact thing, even though it's 3,000 measurements for fitment, the same exact ones. It's literally just straight drop. You don't have to fabricate anything whatsoever. It goes in and there's no questions. It's the simplest thing ever. And we have paid for that motor $250 with shipping and handling. I think that's the cheapest motor that I've seen so far, because real hub motors, they are going about for $500. The crappy ones, they go for like $450 and $350. I'm talking about the funny big fat spokes. It's a fat tire, 20-inch. They're not good. They're not QS motors, right? Magnets are different. So, the purpose of this video is very simple. That we still have manufacturers that will charge us here in US $700. Which, look, I understand. You import the motor, right? And you want to sell it here, including your expenses, right? And you also want to make money, right? Now, I don't mind if I buy something from you and you make money off of me, right? Let's say I buy a candy, say a sneaker, right? A candy, or Payday, or whatever Reese's, whatever is your favorite. And, it's costing the manufacturer, let's say, $1. And then he wants to collect his dues and make some profit, right? Margin. And he puts additional dollars. So now let's say it's costing you $3, right? But no. You have lots of manufacturers that are being kind of, how can I say, eager to make more money, and they don't give a crap about you, and they will rob you blind. So they will not charge you the $3 with their dollar margin profit. They'll charge you $5, right? And let's say you go to Disney World. That's why I just hate going to these places and traveling these places, because Disney World, will sell you water for $7. Meanwhile, the water is 25 cents a bottle from fucking China. But yet, we have to pay $7, right? That's extortion. It should be completely illegal, right? So, in regards of extortion, right? Because that's exactly what it is. We're kind of getting fucked, right? Not just to be, on point blank understanding here between, us here. But then you have to understand, you do have people that still are willing to pay the $799 or $699 for a motor, even $1,000 for KO motor, even a $1,200. I guarantee you, these motors are sitting in China fucking goddamn warehouse for like $100. All right, because they have so many electric motorcycles and scooters and mopeds. It's not even funny, right? That's how they operate. They never had a car. For China, a car was a luxury thing, so not everybody could afford or have, right? And yet here we come, and we buy these things for quadruple the price, and that's what's so sad about I guess this country. We're willing to overpay everything because we are the strong America. We're the dumb America, because see what happens with tariffs. That should have been done 100 years ago, okay? And it was done in 1925, where the tariffs were so high that everything will be here. And how these manufacturers are going to now build and move in to a huge factory. It takes years to move businesses, right? But anyway, I was lucky enough to get this QS motor from actually US through a China supplier. I've noticed that when this whole thing, election came out with Trump and all that, and he was threatening that he's going to, play with the tariffs, smart Chinese people, what they did was, or companies, they shipped everything to U.S. warehouse, hundreds of thousands of, I guess, motors and every possible goods you can think of, and now they just ship it locally, so there's no tariffs, right? Just basic tax. So that was a smart move, but at one point, all that inventory is going to disappear, and I guess we are going to pay this crazy, what is it, 125, 225 tariffs of tax percentage. But, you know, if this was implemented years ago, today this would not be a problem. But it seems like it is a problem now. But I understand. So, and again, let's speak about us, the smart Americans. You know, what do we do, right? Brakes for Serrano, even E-Ride Pro, $350 for rear brake. That's a line and a caliper, and a DOT 3 or 4 or 2 oil. I'm not sure when that person goes to the supplier, says, listen, I want your brake system for rear, and they tell him $350, and he says, okay, no problem. Well, why the hell are we being so stupid? Ask yourself a question. What is a brake caliper? It should not cost $350. Okay? It should not. And that's for rear. Then you got to do for the front. And then you still got to install it yourself. Because if you don't, you're going to have to pay for that. Crazy. I maybe understand, you know, a battery, but I can't understand a battery for $3,000. That's just crazy. Right? I understand the technology is better and the battery is better discharge. I understand that. I guess I do understand, but I don't understand why it's so expensive, right? Again, these things in China are dirt cheap. Now here, we bring it and everybody advertises how great they are, how beautiful they are. And it's funny because I watch people with a 60 amp battery, a 60 amp hour battery, and they'll go maybe 20 miles more than I do with, 50 amp battery, or 40, well, actually 40 amp, because my battery right now is 40 amp hour battery, right? So I understand, for a little bit more, I got to pay $1,000 more. It baffled my mind. I'm tired. It's Monday morning. And in regards to the bike, what do we accomplish, right? So again, we were able to directly ship and drop the motor. So happy. Plugged it in. No codes for the throttle or hall sensors. Nothing. Okay. Did an auto learn. Reached reached 10,000 RPMs on the motor. Free spin without a chain, okay? So that was pretty decent. I'm just checking the myth. If you should be spinning the motor in auto learn with chain or without a chain and a wheel, okay? So we did free spin, 10,000 RPMs. Beautiful, lovely. Gotta love it. After that, we install the 72680 driver, and I don't know if it looks ghetto or not, but I really don't care. I'm gonna have it covered regardless. But I wanted to have easy access where I can take off the controller in about a matter of 5 minutes and troubleshoot if I need to, whether it's out in the streets or out in the house. That was my main goal. Again, it's going to be covered, so I don't want to release the video and be butchered with the messages that looks ghetto. It's not going to look ghetto. It's going to be nicely covered, but like me, I love to jump to lots of conclusions, and I judge lots of people. So I don't mind if someone is judging me, but then I won't release the video until it's appealing to my eyes, right? Because right now it's not really appealing to my eyes. It's not irritating, right? It's not irritating. The purpose of this controller is to pump some amps. The purpose of the controller is to feed the machine, the battery itself, right? And then, the battery is going to put out, the amps and the power, the horsepower to the motor. And then the motor obviously going to spin the chain. We all know that, right? But just because it looks the way it looks right now, it's not tasteful, right? It's not tasteful for the naked eye. So again, won't be releasing it now. Tomorrow we're going to be working or continue work on our electronics, our electric things. Not the horn, not the headlight, but our goal is to connect the far driver, right? Waterproof everything. So when you have the harness in the far driver, right, even though it has the rubber boot, just because it's sitting the way it's sitting sideways in a far driver, that boot likes to come off. Now it's even worse when you don't have enough space between the controller and the frame of the bike. Originally, the original controller had this much space from the wires. The wires were squeezed so bad. At one point, I was just like, wow, some wires are getting cut for no reason. They should not be that tight. And I think E-Ride Pro, and I don't know how the other bikes are, but E-Ride Pro had it so tight that these wires were smashed and squeezed and had no time to travel, and every possible vibration and movement kept just rubbing, and eventually it will become a problem, an issue, right? And I wanted to eliminate that. That's why if this is your battery and your frame and your controller sits here, right? Originally it was sitting this way. Now what I did, I moved it away. So it's not going to impact my front wheel when the front fork goes down and travels, right? But it's going to have that gap where it has the room for the wire to even take a U-turn, and you can direct it whichever you want. Because some wires are going to go up and some wires are going to go down, right? So that's how we're going to direct these. So we don't have to extend any wires or anything like that, which we'll talk about that in a few minutes, extending wires. So once we have that gap, we'll create that gap, we no longer have a squeeze problem and vibration and movement and anything like that. So that error is being pretty much fixed and the whole situation being improved. Now moving forward, you have wires that you're not going to use in the harness. So what we're going to do is we are kind of going to waterproof it with electric tape, right? It will work, because as long as the water doesn't drip in there, we should not have a problem. So we're going to do that. In a harness that there's hundreds of wires that plug into the far driver, I actually used a liquid electric tape. It worked really well. It is completely waterproof, because what makes that harness waterproof, right? It's only the the rubber seal, that the sleeve, the jacket that comes on. Now, if it's done sideways and that sleeve jacket falls off or comes off, it's no longer waterproof. The water can slosh in there and it's done. Your electronics are gone, burned, cooked. So we want to go around that. So we are going to try to kind of like make it really waterproof. Right now you have your hole sensors, right? Your three wires, A, B, and C. Was it blue, yellow, green, right? Something like that. So those wires we had to extend it, because the far driver is a little further up, where the E-Ride Pro controller was facing up and down, right? Where this controller is also up and down, but E-Ride Pro, the wires were coming down. Far driver, the wires come to the side, okay? So it's got it needs a longer travel. So the whole sensor wires were extended. We did that. All right. Luckily, we had a good, what was it, 8-gauge wire, which was pretty decent. I don't think I'm gonna have a problem with that. We could order, a bigger one, but we're not really pushing, 1,000 amps or 500 amps, or in this case, we're not pushing even 350. I mean, we could, but I don't think the battery's going to take it for too long. So there's not going to be a time for the wires to melt, because that's exactly what would happen. So, so that's what we're doing most likely tomorrow. And I can only see between the wiring of the horn and the wiring of the headlight, we might have a big nest, right? A bird nest, a wire nest. So I'm not sure if we're going to go with the harnesses that we have for the horn and for the headlight. I would love to, because it would be so safe. If we are going to be able to squeeze all these wires in there, we'll go with that. If not, we're just going to go pretty much open closed loop, right? In, out, switch, and around. That's all we're going to do with the horn and the headlight. We're just going to pretty much rewire it very nicely. We're going to have everything plug and play. Everything's going to be soldered, heat shrink. Everything's going to be, copacetic and professional. Worry free. Now, in regards of tuning your 72680 far driver, I am going to just tweak small things, very small things. I'm going to double check on my amps, right? DC amps. Make sure that I work with it. I'm going first to do a test run on the auto learn that I did. If everything is nice, we'll leave it at that. We won't change nothing, but we will make sure that the temperature wire is connected and is sensing the heat. So we don't want to overcook the motor, even though it's 5,000 watts. We are going to change definitely setting for the throttle. We are not going to be doing regular throttle. We're going to do sport throttle. And I've seen people saying that there is a race throttle. No, there isn't. I've had a lot of far drivers, a lot. I have never seen race throttle. It's always sport or some sort of mellow thing. Okay, now I've done regular throttle. It's nice, nothing to die for, right? And then I did race throttle. Right, you see what I'm saying? Sport throttle. Okay, no race. And very responsive. Immediately you can feel the power. Very beautiful, right? And it does have its steps to bring it up and kind of like increase the speed and torque and response. So we're gonna of course change that. And excuse me, we're gonna double check on the temperature of the motor when it's supposed to turn on and off, and we're gonna double check the voltage. That's all I'm going to touch off the auto learn. We might go as far as putting a 3-speed switch. It's only plug and play. And somebody would say the hardest thing is to activate the 3-speed switch, because actually you do have to activate it. And then of course question is, do you want to kind of introduce the region braking, right? And that actually will be another video, region braking, but I'm gonna break it down really quick. I have done entire season about 4,000 miles on my bike with region braking. And at the end of the day, when using region braking for the entire day, I did 30 miles in range, okay? And then, of course, I've done the same exact thing with no region whatsoever. The wheel is free to fly, and I still did 30 miles in range. So it didn't even make a mile difference. It was exactly 30 miles. So don't bother. It's easier to change the pads than actually mess with your motor. Why do I say that? Because motor, when you regen brake, actually has to create a current. That means the motor is working. Besides that, the motor is shifting forward and backwards, it's also working. What did I notice, right? When I was using regen, which is like so popular but so useless, right? Even like Spark Cycles, they don't even use regen because it's useless. If you have a brake capable enough to brake and stop the bike, don't even bother with regen. It's just a bullshit myth for some sort of hipster, I guess. No offense to you guys, right? But I noticed one thing. My motor became louder. My motor was giving more hesitation. My motor was getting warmer more often for a longer time and quicker. So your motor is working whether it's going backwards, forward, or doing anything else. Where if you're coasting, right, your motor runs free. And yes, you have to use your brake pads, which are like $25, good quality from ERI Pro or EM ones. So yeah, you do, but imagine what are you saving, right? You're saving your motor. Now, really quick, and I'm gonna finish this video. When I got my bike, everything was beautiful, just like anything new, right? Then after using regen and all that, for quite some time, I bet I did like 1,000 miles, a little bit over, on regen, and then another 3,000 miles without a regen. So I know the experiment I have accomplished and the outcome from it, right? I've noticed that my who's calling me? My wife. I've noticed that my motor started making a noise. So when I was very gradually pressing the throttle, it will make humming noise, right? And of course, don't use as though it's a Hall sensor, this and that, blah blah blah, all that good stuff. Well, we don't know. What happened was I actually cooked the motor originally. The first time I installed the file driver, I just went too strong on it, right? So you got to be careful. It's all about responsibilities. But it was making a humming noise. Now it makes no noise whatsoever. So I'm going to leave you with that, and I'm going to call my wife and my kid and see how they're doing in traffic going to school today, all right? So make sure you stick around, you share, subscribe, let's talk about this. Comment down below. Tell me what you think, what you've learned, anything new, any new information, but don't be the sucker, overpay for everything. Holy shit, if it's a brake system, it's fucking $100, don't pay $600, $700. The wheels are fucking $50. Don't pay $5,000. That's all I'm saying. Those sport slick tires for $1,000 rims. Come on, man. You guys are retarded. Battery for $10,000. Come on, man. Go average. I just don't get it. Until then, folks. See you later.